Everybody.
So before we hop into the episode, Mike and I just celebrated our 4-year wedding anniversary. Yay!
Yay!
So that was exciting. We, kind of on a whim, decided to go to Austin to celebrate.
Yeah, it was pretty last minute.
Mm-hmm.
We decided the weekend before.
Yeah. But it turned out to be so great and so much fun. We had a great time. So yeah, happy anniversary to us.
Yay, a week later.
Yeah. Well, we're recording this a week later, but yeah. So that's that. Also, as always, if you are wanting to meet other polyamorous people, chat with them, talk to them, join our community, the Poly Plus Amor community. The link is in the show notes. It's available for you. Check it out. If you want to support the podcast, please do. All donations are really appreciated. And you can do that through our Ko-fi page. And yeah, I think that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a fun summer. Been doing a lot of traveling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a lot more traveling coming up.
I know. Yeah, it's been kind of crazy actually.
Yeah.
But squeezing in this podcast.
Yeah. Okay, let's try our drink.
All right, let's get to it.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one.
For those of you watching, I will show you the can. It's called Groovy. Gruvi. Yeah. And they make non-alcoholic craft beer. And this one is a pale ale. They also had an IPA at the store that we were at, but we decided to go with a pale ale because I'll probably like that better.
Hopefully.
Yeah, Mike is an IPA person. I'm not really, so.
Yeah. Well, you're more of a sour person, so.
Yeah, definitely.
They don't quite have that specialty yet.
Yeah.
And the non-alcoholic beers.
But that's okay. So we're going to give this one a shot.
Yeah.
All right, ready?
It's Canadian, too, so we'll see how the Canadians do their non-alcoholic beers.
Eh.
Eh.
Right, eh.
Cheers.
Do you take a sip before cheers?
I was about to, but I caught myself.
Mm.
It smells interesting.
Smells like a beer. Oh, yeah. Tastes like a beer. Oh, wow. Tastes like beer?
Yeah, it's just like kind of the other non-alcoholic drinks we've had. It's like a diet version. It's only 60 calories, so it is super light.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. I personally wish there was a little more flavor. Like the pale ale flavor is there, but it's like, it just tastes watered down.
Oh, I don't really get that at all, the watered down part.
I don't think you've had that many pale ales in your life.
I guess. But I don't know. The flavor to me is like, I'm like, whoa.
Initially,
It still
it's
has
good. It's
that,
pretty
like,
strong.
hoppiness to it.
Yeah, the flavor's spot on. It's good.
Yeah.
The flavor's there, but then it just like, after that initial like, hit on your tongue, it just tastes watery after that.
Oh.
Like whereas a normal beer, like that flavor stays and it's pretty strong.
Yeah.
But here it's just like, it just gets very watery at the end.
Mm.
But hey, I mean,
I guess so.
it's a non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah.
Can't expect perfection.
Well.
It's not bad though. Overall,
Yeah.
I'd say it's pretty good.
I think it's pretty
Just
good
give it
too.
a little more of a subjective review.
Yeah. I mean, as a person who doesn't really drink beer, I'm like, yeah, this tastes like a beer. But I guess maybe my palate isn't quite as refined as yours is around beer.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't really like beer.
Yeah.
Outside of sour, so.
But I still try them, right? I've tasted a lot of beers, okay? I've tried a lot. I don't choose them to drink, but I've tried
Yeah.
all of them. Like, every time you order a beer somewhere, I always try it.
Yeah, true.
So, like, I've tried a lot, and this one, yeah.
I feel like this is actually better for non-beer drinkers. 'Cause it's not as potent
See,
on the beer taste.
I think it's pretty potent on the beer taste. So, between this one and the hop water, I think this one, remember we tried hop water?
Yeah. That one was, yeah, even lighter.
Yeah, so I feel like this is, like, if you're really wanting that beer taste, this one is like, yeah, this tastes like a beer. So, like, I think for beer drinkers, this is a good beer substitute. For non-beer drinkers, like me, I think I prefer the hop water a little bit better.
Yeah, just comparing those two, yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, okay. But I would say this is like on par with the hop water. I like them both. I think they're comparable. I don't think one is like much better than the other.
Yeah, I'd say they're comparable. I like this one a little bit more just because it is
More
more on the
beer.
beer flavor, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's like a solid pale ale flavor. It just tastes like, I don't know, almost like a Sierra Nevada or like a Dave's pale ale.
Yeah. Sure.
So, yeah. Yeah, like whatever those are.
No, I know what they are. Okay, so I think I would rate this maybe a 5 or a 6. And not because it's bad. Like, it's good, but it's just not my preference. You know, the beer ones are just not my preference, so I'm not going to rate them as highly as like some of the other things we've tried. But this is good. I recommend this, but I think maybe I'm going to give it a 5 or a 6.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
I'd give it. What was our highest rating so far? Was like an 8 or 8.5, I think.
We're not doing halves.
Yeah,
I feel like every
8.
time.
It was an 8 or 9. 8 or 9.
You try every time to like add halves in. No. So I think our highest is actually a 7.
A 7?
Yeah, remember the recess drink?
Yeah.
We put it at a 7, but we've been talking about possibly bumping that up to an 8 because like we haven't rated anything higher. So I think that now gets bumped up to like an 8 for me because it's been so good. And I haven't had anything that I've liked much better than that.
Yeah, that was the strawberry one, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, that one
Yeah,
was
the
really
recess
good.
strawberry.
Yeah, the strawberry one. Because, yeah, we also tried the margarita one.
Yeah.
Which was good.
I'd bump the strawberry up to an 8. I'd give this a 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still want to try just more non-alcoholic beers.
Definitely.
But I think for flavor-wise, it's good.
Yeah.
It's just that wateriness is just like, it's too much.
Yeah, see, I just don't get that wateriness, but...
I guess for me, like a
That's
10
okay.
would be like just tasting just like a beer without alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even know if that's like possible to do.
Yeah.
But I guess like just having that super high standard and comparing it to that, I'd give this a 7.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a good substitute.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a great substitute. If I really enjoyed beer, I would probably rate this much higher. But I just, don't really enjoy beer that much. So that's why it has a low rating. But I
Yeah.
would still definitely recommend this for any beer drinkers who want something non-alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is a
if
great
you're just
substitute,
if you're
in my
purely
opinion.
going for non-alcoholic and you want a beer, this is a good substitute. I still think between all of the non-alcoholic drinks we've tried so far, I do like more of like the seltzer ones.
Me too.
I'd rather have more of that, just like that flavor, like almost like that sweet flavor as a substitute as opposed to like a diet beer.
Yeah.
It almost just makes me want like a real beer.
Yeah. Yeah, very true.
It's like, it just makes you like want the real thing a little bit more because it's like, oh, it's almost there. Now I just want the real thing to like finish off the flavor.
Yeah. Okay, I get that. Yeah, I think I prefer some of like the like seltzery kinds of drinks or that are just a bit more, or even just like the adaptogen types of drinks. Like I just like those better.
Yeah.
'Cause
Plus you
better
get
than
you get those like extra
you get that little
additional
boost.
like minerals and
Yeah.
ingredients and whatever those are called.
Yeah. But yeah, so, okay. I like this one.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I don't think we haven't tried anything yet that we, like, really, really disliked.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I feel like a lot of these ones that, like, are on the shelves now have probably been, like, vetted.
Yeah.
And, like, are on the shelf because they've lasted and people like them.
Yeah. Yeah, and, like, so we went to this place in Silver Lake, and it's the very first non-alcoholic store, right? Like, that's what it's called Soft Spirits in Silver Lake. And the entire store is, like, non-alcoholic beverages of this kind. So they have tons of, like, non-alcoholic wines, non-alcoholic beers, non-alcoholic, like mixes to make cocktails and, like, all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, it was so cool walking in there and just being like, oh my God, there's so many options.
Yeah.
What do we choose? It was really hard.
Oh, yeah, they had the non-alcoholic mixers for non-alcoholic spirits.
Yeah.
That's what kind of threw me off at first. I was like, why are you going to buy a non-alcoholic mixer? Like, why do they sell these? Like, why don't you just buy a normal mixer? But I guess some mixers have alcohol in them.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're supposed to get the non-alcoholic mixer for the non-alcoholic
Yeah.
spirit, which is like...
But I mean,
that was kind of new to me.
You could still get the non-alcoholic mixer and mix it with alcohol if you wanted, right? Like,
yeah, just depends on what you want, but it's like,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people who are buying this stuff don't want to consume alcohol anymore. Or just limit it.
Well, but the whole point is that you're using, because they're like simple syrups and things like that.
Yeah.
And the whole point is that you're using that to create like a cocktail.
Yeah. Well, I guess the mixer can go either way, with alcoholic or non-alcoholic, but every other drink in there is...
Yeah.
It's a non-alcoholic, like beer or seltzer or spirit of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, there's a lot of options.
Maybe we should ask them to be sponsors. Sponsor the podcast. But yeah. So what?
That's
It's a good idea, right?
Yeah. Ask him anymore.
Yeah, I will.
Oh
Okay.
man, we're already 12 minutes in.
I know. Well, we just had a lot to chat about.
right.
Okay, let's get into the episode.
On to the show.
So today we are talking about sex. Woo! Because everybody loves to talk about sex.
Bam, chicka, wow, wow.
Oh my gosh. No, I just feel like recently I've been getting a lot of questions about sex and just how that works being polyamorous, and so I don't know, I kind of wanted to just do like a whole episode about it. So I think one of the big things that a lot of people have been asking about or asking us to talk about on the podcast is like the main, I think the biggest question I usually get is like, well, aren't you worried about STDs? And so, I mean, yeah, the answer is like, yes, but I don't think that being polyamorous automatically means that you are more likely to get an STD. And I think that's what people are sort of assuming, and that's just not true.
Yeah. I'd say for us especially, yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
Of course, it depends on like what polyamory means to you and how you
Yeah.
live it, of course.
Yeah, right. It's different for everybody, but I just think most people assume that if you're polyamorous, you're just sleeping around with tons of people and you're more likely to get an STD, but that's just not true. So that's kind of like what we wanted to talk about today. And so, like, when I look back at, like, my dating life, like, before I met Mike, when I was single, like, yes, I was single, but I was looking for a monogamous relationship, right? Like, for most of us, when we're young and we're single, we are seeking somebody to be in a long-term monogamous relationship with, right? But so the only way you're gonna like find that one person is to date. And a lot of us date and sleep around. Like, I slept with more people while I was single looking for a monogamous relationship than I have being polyamorous.
Yeah, I think. Oh yeah, I definitely have too, and
Yeah.
I think that's. Oh yeah, I think that's probably the same for a lot of polyamorous people, depending on
Yeah.
how long you've been polyamorous for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was. Yeah, I mean, I was just going out so much more frequently and just like meeting people more often, and
Yeah.
yeah, I was just. It was more of just like an excitement, and like I really did want to like meet someone to like fall in love with and
Yeah.
have a relationship with, and but yeah, I mean, also like we were like in our 20s, and it was just like things like just moved faster. It was like more exciting, and you're always like looking forward to going out on like Friday, Saturday at the very least, if not Thursday, and maybe one other day. And so
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like
Or if you're me and Amanda, we're going out 5 nights a week.
yeah, you guys are crazy.
We were pretty nuts. But
So
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
so yeah, it's a different time, like different mindset, like different energy. Now, like we still love doing that, but like, we just do it less frequently, and
Yeah.
I feel like we're a little more intentional and cognizant of it. Like we're not just trying to go like you kind of just don't get sucked into that excitement. It's like more of like what exactly do I want to do tonight? What do I want to get out of it? It's not like oh like everyone's going to this bar, let's go to this bar and like like let's just take shots and like drink and like
Yeah.
things are a little more like free flowing almost.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, just from being in that environment and like in that atmosphere, like you meet a lot of people and some people you're really attracted to and you end up having sex with,
Yeah.
whether it be just because you like them or just because you're physically attracted to them, like
Yeah.
whatever the reason may be. And so, yeah, I mean that's just like it's a whole different time period. I feel like when you're younger, as opposed to now for us, like I feel like we are just a little taking things a little slower. We're a little more methodical. We kind of know more of what we want, and so we're just taking our time looking for that. And so yeah, it's not like we are going out like trying to have sex all the time. Like that's not
Yeah.
like just, you have to bring it back to like the fundamentals of like why we are polyamorous.
Exactly.
And that's about it's all about meeting people and like connecting with people. We want to like have that like form just deeper connections with people and being polyamorous. We want that romantically also.
Yeah.
And so going out having sex isn't like the goal. That's like not
Yeah.
that's not like the part of it. Like that's not like the main drive. The main drive is like connecting with people, and then sex is kind of a physical manifestation of that if
Yeah.
you get to that level.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for both of us it's totally different now with where we're at. And so yeah, I mean I get why some people might think it's like trying to relive your 20s almost, but it's not.
But it's not.
Yeah.
And so I think the key word you said there is intentional.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, I'm sure you can hear our cat Cosmo chittering in the background. So that's what that is. If you're like, what is that sound? Cosmo is, wandering around, chittering. He's trying to get our cat Peach to play with him, but Peach is like, nah, I'm not having it. I am napping.
Yeah. Cosmo's like almost 1 and Peach is 10, so they're
No, Cosmo is 1.
oh he is oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, he just turned 1.
Yeah, he just
So,
turned
yeah.
1. And
Yeah,
Peach is
very different stages
Peach is
in
11.
life. Yeah.
So anyway, so if you hear that in the background, that's what that is. But yeah, so the key word you said is intentional, right? We are much more intentional about what it is we want and what we're looking for when we go out. So when I was in my early 20s, right? Like I think of when I was living in Redondo with the Amandas, we were going out all the time. We would go out dancing and drinking and bar hopping, and sometimes our intention was literally to just have a one night stand. That's all we wanted. We were like, let's just go out, find a hot guy, and fuck. Like, that was the intention.
Did you guys say that to
And-
each other?
Kind of, yeah. we would play this
Yeah.
game where we would go into a bar, well, usually Shellback. We would go into Shellback and we would pin a guy. And I think we got this idea, I think we got it from How I Met Your Mother. I don't think we came up with this. I think it came from that show, How I Met Your Mother. Possibly, I'm not sure. But that's what we would say. We would like pin a guy. We would do a lap around the bar and we would find the guy and be like, oh, that guy. I want that guy. And then that was like the goal and the game of the night was to try to get that guy to come home with us.
Was that a Barney thing?
It was probably a Barney thing. I don't know.
Wow, so you guys took a thing out of Barney's playbook. From How I Met Your Mother.
I mean, I think it's from that, but I'm not positive anymore.
I could totally see it being from that. Especially Barney.
But yeah, and so that was like the game. And it wasn't that like, oh, we wanted to like have a relationship with this person. We were like, we just want to find a hot guy and go home and have sex.
Yeah.
That was it, you know? And like that. And so we were going out a lot, and we didn't always do that, but like I had tons of random sex of just somebody that I would just sleep with one night and that was it, like one and done. And so like I think back to that time and I was much more likely to get an STD during that time than I am now. But I was always having safe sex, right? And that was like a big thing was we have to wear a condom. Even when I was on birth control. Because it was like, it doesn't matter. I don't want to get an STD and I don't want to get pregnant.
Yeah.
And like, those are the two big things, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, it doesn't matter where you are in what stage of life you're in, how much sex you're having. You should always be using protection and some sort of like birth control if you're not actively trying to conceive, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I would say definitely at least wear protection of some sort.
Yeah.
I guess the birth control is, up to the woman and if she wants to, because, there's a lot of hormonal changes.
That's definitely not like a must, but yeah. Because, I mean, I wasn't on birth control as well, I mean, I was for some of it, but then I went off of it and I was like, wow, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
But so then it was like even more important because I didn't want to get pregnant. So it's like, I don't think that being polyamorous means that you're more likely to get an STD because that's just not, because now we are so much more intentional about like who we're having sex with and why, because we aren't just like going out and having random one night stands anymore. We are looking for someone to have like a real relationship with and a connection. And so I think it's like less likely that we would get an STD now than before because now we are so much more intentional about, who we have sex with and why.
Yeah, it's I mean, I was in the same boat. Like I always made sure to like wear protection. Like that was like, for me, that was mandatory. I know, like, I knew some friends were, like, they didn't. And to me, that was, like, I was like, that's so dangerous and risky. Like, like, obviously, like, it feels better, but is that worth the risk for, like one, for, like, one encounter?
Yeah.
Definitely wasn't worth it to me, but.
Yeah.
But I think a big thing, though, is, like, whenever, especially with the newer, like, relationship, or especially with someone you met that night.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever had the conversation of like, oh, do you have an STD?
Yeah.
Like that conversation never came up.
Yeah.
It's a super awkward conversation to have.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at that age, it's super awkward. I think nowadays, not only would I want to have safe sex, but I would want to talk about STDs before having sex.
Definitely.
So I definitely would want to take things a little slower and just be more upfront and direct about it. Because it's like, hey, like, I have my wife and like, who knows if I'll have another partner, but you can have more than one partner.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter how many, but you can have more than one. So if you get an STD from one of them, you could easily give it to someone else.
All of them.
And even if you are having safe sex, you can still get and pass an STD.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's more difficult, it's lower probability, but it can still happen.
Yeah.
So I just think out of like the whole ethical part of being like ethically non-monogamous, like
talking about
that's a huge part.
Talking about it is a huge part of the ethical part, right? And so exactly, it's like when I was younger, I definitely was not having these conversations, especially in one night stands. It was just like, do you have a condom? Great, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. We weren't, I at least, yeah, I was not talking about and asking if somebody had an STD.
Yeah.
And so yeah, now it's like we are asking those kinds of questions. We are having those kinds of conversations. And because of that, it's even less likely that we would get and pass on an STD because we're talking about it, right? And we're bringing awareness to it. So, like, and that's why, like, when people are like, oh, polyamory, like, no thanks, I don't want an STD. It's like, no, like, if you're doing this ethically, then you should be talking about it. You should be talking to any new partners about, like, do you have any STDs? Because you are being so much more mindful about, like, because if I get one, I could pass it on to my other partners, and there could be multiple of them. So it's like, because we're trying to be ethical, I feel like we talk about it more, way more than maybe monogamous people do. In that sense.
Yeah, well, I guess when you're monogamous, you already know your partner, and they either have an STD or don't. And,
Yeah.
you know, you either don't have to worry about it if they don't have an STD, or you're just dealing with it, managing it if they do.
Well, but even still, so, like, we know, right, that, like, 50% of marriages end in divorce, and it's usually because of cheating. So what if your partner cheats and doesn't tell you, and then gets an STD? Like, so it's like, even though you're monogamous, it could still happen, right? Like, because things happen. So, like, you still have to be careful. Even if you're in a monogamous committed relationship, like, because, I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
Shit
yeah.
happens.
If that situation happens, I mean, yeah, that would just flat out suck. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
double whammy, cheating and then STD.
Yeah.
On top of that, like, yeah, that's like worst case scenario.
You know, but so I'm just like, I'm just saying, like, it could still happen.
I guess, yeah. I guess for me, if someone, you know, someone's like, oh, I don't want to get an STD, or like, I don't want to be polyamorous because I don't want to get an STD, it's like, to me, it's just not that simple.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, so having more, like, adding in like a sexual partner, yes, you automatically increase your chances of getting getting an STD.
Yeah.
But
only if you're, like, not talking about it.
but if you're like,
And not
if
being
you're-
safe or smart.
if you're ethical about it, then yeah, it significantly reduces your chances of getting an STD if
Yeah.
you actually talk about it up front.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there are ways to, like, be responsible and, like, you know, be more proactive about it.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, really, like, reducing your chances.
Yeah.
Because at that point, like, if you do have that conversation, if someone's being honest,
Yeah.
then you shouldn't have to worry about it.
Exactly.
Or I guess, like, yeah, I mean, they could lie to you about it. Like, I guess that could be a risk, but
But then it's not ethical.
yeah. But at the time, you're
Anymore.
not going to really know. So, I mean, that is a risk in itself right there.
Yeah.
Like, that is, like, you can't, like, deny that or, like, try to sweep that under the rug. It's still a possibility.
Yeah.
Hopefully, though, you know.
But I think if you're having, like, an open conversation, then, yeah, like, as long as you're, like, making it, like, a safe space to share, then this new partner should be able to feel comfortable enough to share with you, like, oh, I have an STD, you know, like,
Yeah.
if you're making the space for those conversations, and also having those conversations before, like, you think sex is even on the table, right? Like, having those conversations well beforehand is going to make it easier. But if you're, like, getting hot and heavy, and then all of a sudden you're like, fuck, now I have to have this conversation, that makes it a lot harder. So, like, if you already know that, like, you want to have sex with somebody, and maybe you're out on a date and you have that time and space, that's a good time to, like, bring it up and talk about it before, you know, you get in this space where it's like, oh, I don't want to have to, like, stop and, like, have this conversation, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like, so, like, you should be creating that, like, safe environment for somebody to be able to say, like, oh, by the way, I have an STD, and you can talk about it before you're ever in the position of, like, having sex.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's kind of just about taking it slow, or like taking it like at, I guess it's a more responsible pace.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, to get to the point where like you are comfortable with one another and like you have trust with that other person, it's not gonna typically not gonna happen in like a night or two.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna have to go on like multiple dates and like get to that point where you feel comfortable bringing it up and you trust what they say
Yeah.
because you trust them as a person.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's it's different. It's different now. Like I wish I don't know. I wish I had that awareness like when I was younger to like be able to do this.
Yeah.
And I mean, fortunately, like, you know, nothing
Yeah.
bad ever happened. I didn't get an STD. I never got someone accidentally pregnant. But you know, I guess when we're younger, we all a lot of us do take that gamble and.
Yeah. And it's not good. It's not good. Like.
No.
And that's why we're talking about it. You know.
Yeah.
Because it does need to be talked about more.
Yeah. I guess for us, we're just trying to take everything we learned, what not to do in our 20s and applying it
Yeah.
now in our 30s and to our polyamorous lifestyle.
Yeah. And then like the other thing is also like, yeah, using protection to prevent pregnancies, unwanted pregnancies, especially now with like abortion being banned in so many places, and it's just like that's just like a whole nother reason like not to take that risk, because like what if you live in a state where abortion is hard to come by and you get pregnant and it's something that you don't want, and like that's just so crazy, and now you have to like go to another state to get an abortion, and it's like that definitely is like it's not worth it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's something else you have to be cognizant of, and it's definitely a big factor.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like craziness. And so that's why it's like so important to be like talking about these things and talking about like, you know, do you have any STDs? Do you have like a condom, or are you on birth control? And like, you know, just being aware, being conscious and mindful of these things, so that way, you know, nobody gets put in like an awkward position.
Yeah.
Because, right, it's like polyamory is under that umbrella of ethical non-monogamy, or at least for most people it is, right? And if you want non-monogamy to be ethical, then you have to be having these conversations. And also, you have to be having these conversations not just with new partners, but with like your current partner, or like your nesting partner, or, you know, whoever you're like the partner is that you see the most, right? Like, so for Mike and I, that would be us because we're married. But like we have to have these conversations too with each other about like, okay, making sure that like we are both on the same page of like, yes, we must always use a condom. Yes, like we need to tell each other when we're going to be having sex with somebody new. These are just part of our rules, and they're pretty common and pretty typical for most people, you know? And also, so like if I'm going to be having sex with a new partner, you know, also knowing like, okay, new partner, how many other partners do you have? You know, have they all been checked? You know, what's the status of your other partners, right? It's like just knowing what like your rules are and your boundaries are. And like some people have rules where it's like you can't have an exchange of fluids, right? Or you can only have an exchange of fluids with like your main partner. So for example, that would be like Mike and I can exchange fluids, but if I have a new sexual partner, then we cannot exchange fluids, right? Like, so like there's all these different options and all these different sort of like rules that you can have that make everybody feel comfortable before engaging in sex.
Interesting. I've never heard of that. Exchanging fluids or not exchanging fluids with another partner. Mm-hmm. Is that like, is that how it's termed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what does that mean exactly? You just can't, like, you can't like kiss or have any form of sex. You can't like exchange any form of fluid.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, but I mean, I think kissing is usually okay for most people. But yeah, no exchanging of fluids, down below.
Oh, okay.
I guess.
I mean, because kissing is exchanging fluids too.
It is.
Playing tonsil hockey.
Yeah.
Okay, I had never heard of that before, so I was curious about what that specifically means.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, there's lots of different options for everyone to make everyone feel comfortable, right? And it's like there are a lot of things you can do besides like penis and vagina sex, right? There's like so many other things you can do. And so if like STDs are something that you're worried about, then maybe you don't do P and V sex. Maybe there's like so many other things you can do that will keep you more safe, and like you're still gonna have like a great sexual experience.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big variety, but other forms can also spread STDs too. So
of course, and so you do have to like be mindful of that. But I'm just saying, like
right.
in general, right? Like there's so many different sexual experiences to explore that there are like rules and boundaries for everyone to feel comfortable, no matter like where you are on this journey.
Yeah, I think for me it's just the first big step is like just defining how you want your polyamorous relationship to look.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a lot of people assume that it's just you trying to relive your 20s and going out and having a lot of sex. But I think for a lot of, I can't speak for obviously can't speak for every polyamorous couple, because don't know many of them or any of them really. But I think a lot of people just are similar to how we are, and like, we're not going out like trying to have sex all the time. We're like truly trying to just find like another deep romantic connection.
Yes.
And so that doesn't mean like we're not going out having a lot of sex.
Yeah.
And so like defining what it is exactly you want out of your polyamorous relationship is is like the first key step, and then I guess after that it's just defining, like being clear with your partner, your current partner, like getting on the same page with them about safe sex and like what that means to you, like always wearing protection, always talking about it, with both partners.
Communication.
Yeah. Bringing up the protection and STD talk with a new partner before you have sex. So exactly. It's all about like defining what like is ethical and safe.
Yeah.
And then being proactive about it before like acting on everything.
Yep.
Because a lot of times you just kind of like, when you're younger, you just act on your feeling. You don't think about the risks, the consequences. You don't think about any of that, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you might hear about it, but like you're not really thinking about it in the moment.
Yeah.
So it's just, I think just as we get older and mature and like learn and grow more, that it's important to just start thinking about these things and implementing them. And
yeah, but it doesn't have to be that way, right? If these kinds of conversations are happening when you're younger, like if you're talking to your friends about like, dude, you have to be having safe sex, here's why, we need to be having safe sex, and all of your partners, then like it doesn't have to be that way, like, oh, you're just young and in your 20s and like whatever, and like playing Russian roulette, essentially. Like, it doesn't need to be that way, but it's because these kinds of conversations just aren't happening as much.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It definitely doesn't have to be this way.
No, and so that's why like we need to normalize having these kinds of conversations and not feeling awkward about them. Like there's nothing wrong with having these kinds of conversations and asking, and there's nothing wrong with having an STD. Sometimes you're born with them, like it's so like you just have to be able to like have these conversations, and they shouldn't be awkward. And so I think the more we talk about them and the more we talk about how important they are, then the less awkward it's going to be and the more normalized it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Yeah, I guess the goal is to make it less taboo.
Yeah, it shouldn't be taboo.
Unfortunately,
we're all trying to keep each other safe. That shouldn't be a taboo thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, just like the reality of the situation right now, though, is it's just not really like that.
And that's why we're having this conversation to
Yeah.
help change that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really think it does start. It really starts at like the family level, and then I guess the friend level, and then well, it's the family and friend level.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of depends on like what's kind of what you're taught, like what you think is like, I guess, normal or acceptable.
Yeah.
And that just varies between so many different people.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I agree. I think like for me, the best route is to just like be upfront and realistic about it and be like, hey, like
Be honest.
these are going to be your urges. You're going to want to have like sex with, whoever you're attracted to,
Yeah.
whether like opposite sex or the same sex. And
Or both.
if you don't really like know of, what's safe and what's not, like you're probably just going to like act on your impulses and not really think about risks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you're educated and you know the risks of STDs and pregnancies, and
Yeah.
I just feel like you're more educated and you're just gonna behave in a more ethical and better way.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah, I've got nothing left.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's it then. All right. Well, thank you, listeners. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. And yeah, if you did, maybe rate the podcast, give us a little 5-star rating, maybe a review, maybe write something nice. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, any feedback or any review helps. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Or if you have any other questions, shoot us an email. hello@polyamorous.com, or join our community and send us a message on there. Or send me a message on Instagram, or like whatever, There's all the ways, and they're all linked in the show notes. But yeah, if you're enjoying the podcast, then leave us a review. And that's it. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.
Thanks for listening.